Stop! Public service announcement. Before you watch this review, please go read this post on Tyler the Creator's Instagram. Hopefully it'll give you a better understanding of the album and a better first listen. It did for me.
The album is entitled Igor, and it's his 5th studio album following 2017's Scum Flower Boy.
First off, wow, this album is everything I didn't know I wanted from Tyler. You know, Tyler is really filling a niche that is perfect for his personality. This album is weird, flamboyant, and funky, and that's everything that Tyler is. I don't think his previous albums weren't himself. I always have found Tyler to be an authentic artist, but on this album, I really feel his true self coming through the songs. Not once on this entire album do I feel like any element or song is something that someone else told Tyler to do, and obviously not, because everything is arranged and produced by him.
In addition to Tyler doing all the production himself, the collaboration is very, very limited on this album as well. This album is 100% Tyler.
I've listened to this album quite a few times already, and I gotta say that the first time I listened to it really hit home. I gotta say that with most of Tyler's stuff, you gotta listen to it a lot of times to pick up on all the little nuances that he sprinkles throughout the songs, and this is no exception. So count on the fact that we're not gonna catch every little thing. But that being said, we're just gonna jump right into the first song, Igor's Theme. The opening to this album is extremely theatrical. It feels like a cinematic start to the journey that we're about to go through in Tyler's head. Right off the bat, you get those super funky drum beats, which Tyler's getting really good at. And my favorite song off Scum Flower Boy, Boredom, had a really amazing beat like this. And I think this opener just takes that to a whole nother level.
The song is an excellent example of Tyler's great melody writing skills. They're definitely part of his ability to write an instrumental track that isn't boring or that doesn't drag on.
There is an absolute crowd of synths on this track, and that's going to be a consistent theme throughout this entire album. Tyler is quickly becoming a master of the synths, and it's really a perfect instrument for the trancey funk that he's going for.
The song is heavy and hard-hitting and works as an excellent intro to the album, as well as gives us a great idea of what this album's going to be like.
Next up is Earthquake, which is a pretty chill and slow-moving song compared to the first one, but acts as an intermediary before he goes in on the next couple of tracks. You get some of the backup vocal repetition that Tyler had on Scum Flower Boy, and many other of his albums. I really enjoy when Tyler layers all these vocals, and makes you dig for certain sounds and lyrics.
The song works excellent as an interlude in the album context, but on its own it might be a bit boring and repetitive. There's a lot of songs on this album that work very well in the album context.
Okay, you need to just, drink some water or some shit.
There's a lot of songs on this album that are like that. They work great in the album context, but may not work terribly well on their own.
These first two tracks have pretty unpredictable song structure, in the sense that there's breakdowns and choruses and little verses in places you wouldn't think they would be.
And because of the constant and abrupt changes and switches up on this album, if you didn't have track listings, you'd probably be confused which song was what. This almost feels like one long musical experience that's just been chopped up into pieces as opposed to individual tracks.
The third song, I think we're getting the first bare vocals from Tyler, where they're not altered with that high pitch or low pitch thing that he does. It's in a small dose, but it fits really well. And again, the melodies and production in this track are incredible.
Tyler's production skills are on full display on this song, as well as his talent for mixing together all the different parts that go together to make the cohesive sound of the track. A lot of the time you can end up with a disheveled mess of a song when you do this, but he's able to take so much and mash it up into one track, and it works absolutely perfectly in his case.
In between I Think and Running Out of Time, you get a short voice recording, and there's a few of these sprinkled throughout the album. Some are their own tracks, and some are attached to the beginning or end of songs. On Running Out of Time, there's a lot of raw emotion pouring out of the quirky flows Tyler has, and one of my favorite things he does is the repetition of certain phrases to emphasize them. When he does that, you get the message that what he's talking about is really important to him, and that certain line really stands out in the track. And there's also new sounds creating the beats on each track. On Running Out of Time, you get the addition of the snap.
Upon the first few listens of this track, the heartfelt lyrical themes don't come through right away, but after more listens and digging deeper into the lyrics, you get a sense of the emotion and the poetic lyricism.
At this point in the album, I really want to go back to what I was saying about this album being the real him. When I reach this point in the album, the whole sound is really coming together. The dreamy, funky, jazzy sound is really carrying Tyler's emotions in it. And I don't know about other people, but I was really feeling this. I think Tyler is speaking more with the production and the sounds rather than his rapping, which some people might be upset about, but I think if you followed Tyler's attitude toward this album in the lead up, you'd understand that this is a cocoon to butterfly phase for him, and he's really coming out of his shell.
New Magic Wand is a very aggressive opening, and it seems like we've switched to the darker side of the album and of Tyler's mind.
I'm sure the theme was present on earlier songs, but this is the first track that I really started to realize that theme of the album following kind of a breakup and a relationship that Tyler has with somebody, where he's not sure where it's going, whether they're still in love, and he's dealing with these anxieties about feeling lonely, wanting to feel loved, and needing to feel wanted. And on this track specifically, we get kind of this selfish anxiety about wanting somebody all to himself, and at the same time not wanting to be alone and abandoned. This track has a consistent backing of metal drumming, or at least sticks on a rim of a drum, or something to that effect. I really enjoy this sound though, and I think it ties the whole track together. A lot of the tracks on this album have a lot of variety of synth, and in this song we get the gritty, dirty synths. They sound really low and reverby, and it adds to that aggressive sound.
The song really shows Tyler's skill of finding samples that fit his tracks perfectly. It sounds like a 70s sample of a female vocal ensemble. I'm not sure if it's actually from the 70s or if it's just something they've recorded, but either way, it fits perfectly.
You get really good rhyming schemes from Tyler on this track, and he switches up his flows quite a bit. One thing this album isn't at this point is repetitive. That's one thing we often criticize albums for, because we feel it's a huge detriment to a lot of albums. But this one is super unique in each of its songs, yet at the same time they all work together in a pretty cohesive theme. To me, this track kind of continues the theme from New Magic Wand, and he's talking about being frustrated with this person he likes, in the sense that they're kind of playing games with him, and he doesn't know if he wants them or they want him, and he's struggling with feeling wanted and feeling like they want him. That's the same thing. Struggling with feeling wanted and needing attention, and also whether he wants to give attention. A perfect example of this in the song is when Tyler says, "Oh, you wanna go whom?" Oh, you wanna go who? Oh, home! Who? Why don't you say that? Oh, you wanna go home? Cool, you better call you a cab. I ain't taking you home. Yeah, I'm brushing you off. And then immediately says, "Don't leave, stay right here. Yeah, I want you right near." So clearly he's expressing this battle between feeling like, you know what, I don't need them, I don't need her, go, I don't need you, and also, I do need you. Stay right here, I need you close.
The song Puppet sounds like a sad lullaby. This track is hypnotizing and has a very swaying feel. It's backed up with a lot of synth that really fill out the track.
And on this track he's moving into a lyrical theme of accepting the loss of control to this person that he loves. Whereas on the last two tracks he was fighting with it, trying not to accept it, trying to battle with it, trying to stay in himself. On this track I feel like he's losing that battle and accepting that he really, really does care for this person.
I love how the themes of these three songs bleed into each other and almost makes for a trilogy.
Also, when I first heard this track I was like, is that Kanye?
And upon further inspection, that indeed is a Kanye feature. The album doesn't have a whole lot of features, and he doesn't actually credit any of them, so you gotta do a little digging to see who's featured on the few of the tracks that do have features, as they aren't actually written in the track's title like he usually does. As for What's Good, the song is very dark, heavy, and has an industrial sound. I also love the usage of the analog drum kit. This is sprinkled throughout the entire album, but the song showcases it best. I'm not sure if it's a sample or a live kit, but either way it's nice to hear a real drum kit coming through on some of these songs, and it isn't completely computerized.
I feel like I haven't mentioned it enough in this review, but this track especially, and a lot of other songs, are extremely dancey. I find it so amazing that Tyler has found a way to blend extremely personal themes with catchy, dancey songs. I'm also so into the melody that goes shows how the simplest little part can add so much to a song. The second half of What's Good digresses into darkness, and the subtle whisper of "I see the light" near the very ending of the track is pretty eerie.
Next up is Gone Gone / Thank You, and I'll start off by saying that this is my personal favorite on this album. It's a very long track and goes through many different phases, it's almost like 3 songs in one, and it just takes you on a wonderful musical ride. The intro is very light and floaty and features a childlike vocal melody. Feels like a dark summer anthem.
Also, talking about that first part of the song, wow, guitar? Like, how many different sounds can you master on one album? The guitar fits really well with the other elements on this track, and it's just crazy to me that Tyler seems to be working so well with so many different instruments.
I love the mixture throughout this entire album and on this track of the real instruments and the computerized instruments. You got the real drum kit, real guitar, as well as of course the synths and the drum machines and other computerized sounds.
Each melody from each phase of this song, I feel like it has its own emotion carrying with it. The beginning is obviously happiness, kind of mixed with a wonderment and an anxiety. In the middle I get a sense of looking forward to the future, and at the end of the track I'm getting a sense of contentment and peace. The last 2 tracks go back to the theme before of the relationship and the person that Tyler seems to be talking about a lot on this album, whether that's a real life person or not.
The song is based upon a lo-fi dance beat, and there's also an eerie synth piano part bleeding in through.
And that piano part goes hand in hand with the lyrical theme of the realization of the loss of love that Tyler's having. At this point in the album, this person is really separating with Tyler. You know, he knows what's gonna happen, he knows they're leaving, and this track is the first track where he's dealing with that.
And the album closes off with the song Are We Still Friends? The song seems to have gotten the best feedback of the entire album from the fans, and it works excellent as a closer.
It has a very jazzy beat, and it continues the theme with an overdrive of synth.
Vocals are very theatrical and high, almost making this like a ballad track, and the song really symbolizes Tyler's last outcry of emotion on this album before closing this little show.
And you can obviously see you can obviously see it in the title, but this song symbolizes the end of this relationship and the complete separation. Tyler knows it's over and he's trying to deal with closure on this track. You know, he's clamoring for something like, are we still gonna be friends? Am I still gonna see you? You know, he's talking about how he still loves them, but he has to deal with this pain. I've seen a few people saying that Tyler loses a bit of the message on this album in a mix of all these sounds. And because he isn't rapping as much, his themes are buried under all of the production. And I couldn't disagree more with that. I think that you really have to feel this album and sit and just take in the sounds, because as I mentioned earlier, Tyler is speaking a lot more with his arrangement and production rather than just his rapping. You know, Tyler has said in the past that he never wanted to be a rapper per se, and that the rapper lifestyle and way of making albums isn't really true to himself. And I think this album is the first album where he really breaks totally away from that. You know, I loved the album Flower Boy, I thought it was amazing, but I loved that album as a rap album. You know, it's one of my favorite in the past like 5 years. But this album is great for a totally different reason. I feel like this album is great because Tyler is completely open on this album. Everything was his own choice, everything was his own artistry, and he isn't trying to be anything that anyone else wants him to be.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. He's completely being 100% authentic on this album. He's being completely himself, and he's not worrying about any of the modern rap tropes or cliches, and his artistry is coming through completely. A lot of modern rap these days is very repetitive. A lot of people are doing the same things. People are focused way too much on becoming popular and doing whatever's trendy at that moment. But I don't think he gives a shit at all. He wants to do what he wants to do. He wants to make the music that he wants to make, and because of that, it's just so refreshing to hear. It's also nice to hear a rap album from 2019 that isn't full of a bunch of fucking hi-hats.
And this fringe sound is where Tyler works the best. People have always loved Tyler for being the awkward, kind of weird rapper that makes very different music compared to other rap in the game, and this album just completely blows it out of the water. I didn't see it coming, and it's amazing.
I honestly wouldn't even call this a rap record. It's almost like an album that has rap in it, but isn't necessarily a rap album at all. You've got elements of so many different genres on here, and it's really almost like a soundscape and just an auditory experience. Now, as for the people that have been criticizing this album, I feel like if you're looking for a very modern sounding 2019 rap, straight up rap album filled with all those modern rap tropes that are very popular right now, you're not going to like this album. But if you're looking for something new and fresh and something that you can really dig into and listen to a ton of times and find new stuff, and you're someone who's really chasing the artistry behind the music, then you're going to really enjoy this album.
This album is so unique and different that I've tried to use all the words I possibly can to describe how I feel about it, but somehow I feel like I still haven't done it justice. So for that reason, I just gotta go straight into my rating. I think this might be the highest rating I've ever given on this channel, and I'm gonna give this album a 91. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to listen to it 100 more times and discover more things, and I wish I could make 2 more videos about this album, talking about all those new things I'm gonna discover.
My rating is slightly lower, as there were a few times on the album where I was a little bit bored. There was just a couple times where I lost interest and I felt like it trailed off, but that's very minimal. For that reason, I give this one an 86.
There's a ton of stuff to talk about on this album, so we'd love to hear what you guys think, and I'm sure you guys will point out a few things that we didn't even catch. So please comment below. Leave a like if you like this review, and please check out our other reviews. See you next time, guys.
A booyah!